Hello and welcome back to Assorted Beefs, where I talk about anything I want to that doesn't fit into niche tea for any particular reason. I have made it back successfully from a vacation where I ended up going to 2 3/4 Stray Kids concerts, and it was a lot of fun for the most part. The three I went to were New York Day 1, New York Day 2, and Washington, D.C. And given that a lot of D.C. commentary has been going on because the event ended up being canceled midway through, I figured I would talk about that. First of all, I just want to say across all of the concerts, stays were amazing. The people attending were all super fun. People were giving out tons of freebies. People were looking out for each other. I got so many cute things. Hold on, here's my concert bag. Look at all my little guys. I got photo cards, I got little stickers and stuff. One girl in line made all these little keychains for the solos and waited a solid minute for me to find Hold My Hand because that's my favorite one. This is my favorite thing ever now. I keep it on my little thing with me all the time. If I saw you at any of the shows, thank you so much for coming up and saying hi. I really get awkward about it, but it means so much to me to meet the people who like the stuff that I do every single time. You guys are awesome every single time, so thank you. Okay, so DC. As kind of a baseline set of knowledge for people who don't know what I'm talking about, the tour that I went to is a stadium tour. Both of the shows that I went to in New York were at Citi Field, the baseball stadium for the Mets, and then the show in DC was at National Park. That means you're talking 40 to 50,000 people in capacity. Now, the show itself starts at 7:30. You can start entering, at least usually, 2 to 3 hours beforehand. Then in addition to that, some people have VIP, which means you get to get in earlier than that, even way earlier in the day, and you get to watch from the front, the pit or wherever that you're standing right up next to the stage, watch them do sound check and do more casual interactions with the group themselves and the members and stuff. So a lot of people really like to do that, and that costs a lot of money to do. Normally all of this works fine, but on Monday there was one major complication, which was very simply that it was really fucking hot. Over 100 degrees, and that's if you're walking around normally existing outside. These were people, especially again, the people who were VIP, who were there all day, were standing in the middle of a baseball stadium. So there's no cover, there's an open air stadium, beating down on by the sun, and the stadium stands prevent wind from coming through. Now, I also had pit tickets. I was in pit 2, which we'll come back to because that's where a lot of stuff was happening later in the concert, but I bought them secondhand. I didn't have VIP, and I knew that it was going to be hot and that I'm not going to fight to get really close anyway. So I was let me just aim to get there with enough time, so 6:30, so that I have time to get in, find the right entrance, get in, get a drink, go to my spot, go to the bathroom if I need to, whatever, chill out and, get myself hyped. So I do get there at 6:30, and immediately I notice there are massive lines. And if you ask people, what's this line for? At least 50% of the time, you would get a blank stare or I'm honestly not sure in response. I had to walk several blocks to find even a guy able to tell me where I should go for the type of ticket that I had. Citi Field, comparatively, you could walk up to the stadium, immediately find someone, that person would know immediately where you need to go, and they'd send you that direction. And then there'd be more people along the way to make sure you're still going the right way. At one point, a guy directed me to a line where people were going to the field, which I knew I was going to go to, but then he said, it's only for people who need a field wristband, which means you don't have a seat, you have a, standing field, which is what I had. And I was cool. And then he was if you have general admission tickets, go this other way. And my ticket said general admission pit. So I was which is it? And he just stared at me. I ended up switching lines at least twice, and it seemed it was taking forever. It was 7:10. Again, the show was going to start at 7:30, and huge numbers of people were still outside the stadium. And it started to pick up, and what I found out was happening was it seemed they were really rigorously checking everyone's bag instead of just doing the really quick thing. We all have clear bags. The really rigorous checks are usually for if you have to have a backpack for medical reasons, stuff they would not let in normally. Once they relaxed all that, it got a lot faster. I'm not sure whose decision it was to do all of that. It was very confusing and bad. Don't do it again. Getting into the pit, again, I was in pit 2. It was on the left side of the stage as you're facing the stage. That was when I found out and started hearing about the stories from people who had been there for longer about how bad it had gotten as far as the heat, and really very little, if any, intervention from anybody who was working at the stadium. The show did start a little bit late, probably because they were trying to make sure that everybody could get in. And the show itself awesome, banging, as good as it ever could be, as good as the other days were. The guys were immediately, clearly so hot. Like, Hyunjin was absolutely, that dude must have hyperhidrosis like I do. He was absolutely covered in sweat by the end of the first number. Their stylist clearly didn't have any modifications for them. Felix and Hyunjin were put in full suits. Like, come on. Anyway, as the show is going on, eventually people start like sitting down around me. People are clearly having trouble. And at one point, Chan flat out, like, they're in the middle of like a thing, they're doing a transition, and he literally stops the band and is like, hey, I don't think people are okay. And predominantly he was looking at the pit I was in, at pit 2, where there were a lot of people who were having trouble. But once everybody started paying more attention, like the members, they were actively like giving water to people, doing all this other stuff to try and check and make sure people were okay, and like directing security toward people who were having medical issues, you know, due to, you know, heat exhaustion or anything along those lines. You could see as Chan was talking that he was pretty annoyed too, because he eventually was like, he kept asking about water, and he kind of just looked around at, like, I assume there were staff people or somebody he was making eye contact with, and finally he was just like, you can charge me for the water. You could please just give them water. He gave his literal water bottle. It said, had his name on it. He gave it out to somebody just because he was trying to get water to people. And they all looked so concerned. Lino was running around giving water to other people as well. Like, the members were really, at that point, pretty concerned about what was happening, especially down there in the pit. I will say, on the part of Stay's, you know, fans who were there, everyone, from what I saw, was great. I didn't see people freaking out on anybody or getting into fights or any of that shit. People were helping each other. People were passing around ice. People were passing around water bottles to anybody who needed it. There was this one very tall person in pit 2 whom I did sort of talk to at the end, who was acting as like the person yelling because they were the tallest. And that was appreciated because it was nice to have someone relaying the instructions and information that not everybody could hear. The boys took a little bit of a break so that fans could cool down, and so they could, and as you know, the sun went down, like that was helping a little bit. They came back, did a bunch more of the show, went into the first encore, did a bunch of that, and then went into the next planned break segment, which was like fan interaction stuff. Then at the end of that, an announcement was made that the concert was going to be canceled from that point forward. Because of the heat and just because it wasn't safe for people. And then the stadium lights came on and the announcer was basically like, get the fuck out, bye. And that was it. So you've got like 40,000 people trying to leave all at once. And apparently people at the medical stations were kicked out too, which really? There were so many ambulances out front when I got out finally, because I waited for people to make their way out. A number of the guys posted messages to fans apologizing for what happened and making sure people were okay and saying like, you know, we're sorry, we really didn't want to do this, but it was just the call that needed to be made. And they did a live stream back at their hotel, again, apologizing and saying that they will come back to DC. From what I've seen, nobody blames them. Everyone understands that it wasn't safe and it wasn't being well managed, and could see that they were frustrated too with the lack of accommodation and preparedness for this type of heat when they knew it was coming, the stadium. The park put out some statement to the news about all the stuff that they had as far as accommodations, but some of them seemed like straight up lies, like free water in the pit. No, there was not until Chan intervened. Misters, I don't know where. I didn't see any, certainly not in the pit area. Water refill stations, I think I saw one. And even came out with more messages later showing how annoyed he was that water, aka the thing everyone needs to live, was not freely available to people. That's the main thing most people took away from this was, again, what a fantastic leader he is. Obviously cares for and takes care of his team, but he also cares about the fans a lot. And something I realized, he is a millennial manager, coded. That's what that is. One who's like, I care about you more than the job or anything else. You matter first. Millennial manager, man. He's like a baby millennial at best, but we'll take him.